Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Week 12 episode of CAA Today. This will be our last one of the season, and then we'll write an article in the off season just about this season and how the Colonial has made such a big turnaround from periods of inactivity to what we have now and all the content that we're putting out. So, with that said, let's get into it. Last one for now. We'll have more next season, and that is a fact. But for now, we're going to get it started as I pull up the script here. Our first game of the week, this one was the fastest game this week between myself and Delaware. And it was kind of uh, predicted last week. A lot of people said, Delaware would get an early lead, and then I would come back, and it would be very close going into the fourth. And as it was, Delaware shot out to an early 21-0 lead. And then I scored a couple times at the end of the second quarter and once at the beginning of the third to tie the game 21-21. But that last drive for Delaware was played very perfectly, chewing the clock, ending the drive with a score. And then I got the ball back, faced with a 4th and 3, needing the first down to keep the game going. Needed a 392 difference, and the difference on the play was 393, and that was ball game. So Delaware has the momentum going into a big conference championship game against Youngstown State. As for myself, there's a lot to look forward to as well. Going from 2-10 last season to 5-7 this season is a great step forward, and forcing 4 turnovers against what I believe is a top 10 team, and never losing the ball in offense is a great sign of things to come.
Yeah, this one was really interesting. It's sort of a meme in the CAA that Delaware likes to get down early and then play from behind. So I think he was a little shell shocked by being up 21 zip and kind of needed JMU to work their way back into this game in order for Delaware to feel a little bit more comfortable. I don't think he knew what to do with the lead there. And JMU should be really proud of the way they played in this game. They nearly stole one from one of the top teams in the conference and in the country. And, they should really be proud of the season that they've had. I think the Dukes have momentum that they're building on for next season for sure.
Yeah, just need to work on that defense. That defense has been leaking all season. If I get that fixed up, looking to have a better season 5. Our next game here is our famous former conference champion, soon to be changed, VMI, going against Delaware State, the self-proclaimed offensive guru. Many expected this to be an offensive slugfest, as VMI has put up many points, including 66 on me once. But a little bit of good defensive play. That first quarter for Delaware State, and then the third quarter for VMI, all played solid defense. DSU ended up getting up the edge in this game, winning 38-28.
Yeah, the story of the second half of the season for Delaware State has really been finding a defense to pair with their high octane offense. Good to see them get a quality win over a VMI team that has shown the ability to perform at a high level in the past, although they had a down season this year. Look out for the Delaware State Hornets next year.
For sure, for sure. They are building some offense there, and we'll talk about that a lot more later. Our third game on the dock here, Duquesne at Villanova, I think. Yeah, Duquesne at Villanova, and this game was dramatic, going back and forth, down to the wire, and then Duquesne holding a 40-38 lead, but it's Villanova's ball. Nova drives down the field and hits the timeout field goal to win the game. For a team like Villanova, who's done very poorly in late game scenarios with special teams, example given Holy Cross, this was a great win to avoid the upset and a sigh of relief.
Yeah, Duchesne is a team that you never want to see on your schedule. Val can bring it any given week and can cause a big time upset in any given game. I was wondering whether Villanova would be sleepwalking through this one. I know they feel like they came up short of their goals for the season and wondered if they might not have the motivation this week. But credit to the Wildcats for staying focused and pulling out a victory.
Our next game here, game 4 that we're covering, was one that didn't finish, and I think this is one of the few ones like this whole season that hasn't finished. This is the first one in a few weeks. I know that for sure. As Richmond defeated William and Mary, just pure domination that second quarter, scoring 21, giving up zero. The game finished 28-7 at halftime. Not much to say here, just because of small sample size.
Yeah, Fuzzy may be the only coach departing the CAA this offseason. So it was good to see him get sent out with a victory here. Pretty dominant considering the game didn't reach halftime. But good to see Richmond go out on top.
All right, our next game here, the big upset. I know Bernie's got some thoughts about this one. YSU, and it should say Robert Morris there. I forgot to change it to Robert Morris at the bottom of that graphic.
Yeah, this game still stings. I did say on last week's show that I expected Robert Morris would put up a good fight. They were coming off back-to-back wins over Delaware and Villanova, two of the better teams in the conference. So we definitely were not sleeping on them, not taking things for granted. And it was a good back and forth battle. Unfortunately, on the final play of the game, Robert Morris struck for a long touchdown to silence the home crowd here on senior day, and a tough way to end the regular season for the Penguins.
Yep, just a reminder, I am the only one that called this upset. So, just a shout out to me, I guess. That sounds really poor. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but hey, I'll take credit for that. Our last game, our voted game of the week this week was the international matchup, the famed Ashes series, featuring our two international coaches. Turned out to be a fight for the ages. Morgan State was commanding early 8-0, and then the defenses kind of got settled in, and that was a score at halftime. Towson then put 17 on the board compared to Morgan State's 8 in the next quarter, and they led 17-16 going to the fourth. But then the always go for two Morgan State U took the lead in a great finish, winning by a score of 38-30. Both of these coaches have had a great rivalry, a lot of trash talk going on, and it's a great first season for both coaches.
Yeah, these are two more teams that you really sweat when you have to play them. I know that from experience against both of these coaches this season. This was a big win for Ryland. Towson was one of the hottest teams in the country coming into this. I think they had won 7 of their last 8 under Mr. D's tutelage. I'd be surprised if one or both of these teams are not in the playoff hunt next season. I've already gone on record saying that I think Towson will be the CAA North champ.
Yeah, that seems to be a general thought here in previous episodes. The way Towson has taken over the 0-2 team, lost 2 games, just figuring out the game at first, and then proceeded to go on a very big run. All credit goes to him. A tough loss here to end of the season, but that shouldn't take away from the incredible season that they've had here in I think they're in Maryland, right? If I'm not mistaken, Towson is a Maryland team.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, so they've had a good season there in Maryland. And then so now we move on to what we got wrong. I'm gonna pull up the script from last week because I kind of forgot about that. Bernie, if you want to go ahead and talk us through what you got wrong.
Yep. So I had William and Mary defeating Richmond. I had myself beating Robert Morris, and I did have Towson over Morgan State. All three games that just like many games in the CAA, you could see them going one way or the other. But I was wrong on those three predictions.
I think I'm the same here. I had. Let me check. Okay,
Although
yeah,
you
I
did
did
have
have.
Robert Morris.
I did have Robert Morris beating you. Kind of as a meme pick, but it ended up working out good for me. Um, I did have. I actually called the correct score for the wrong teams in William and Mary and Richmond. I had William and Mary winning 28-7. They ended up losing 28-7. And then yeah, I missed the Towson Morgan State game. So those were the two that I missed. The next segment is Coach of the Week, and this one I've got to give it to Robert Morris. It's been these past four weeks have been incredible. Uh, just 4 straight wins, absolute domination in a couple of them, very close ones in some other ones. Robert Morris has put together a great last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I gave it to Robert Morris as well. This is 3 straight weeks that Depp has been my CAA Coach of the Week. But when you beat Delaware, Villanova, and Youngstown State back to back to back, you've earned that honor.
That's true. I don't know if Edge wants. There he is. There he is.
Yeah, I was just gonna chip in to say, yeah, it's got to be Robert Morris for me too. They played three really tough teams these last 3 weeks, and they won all of them. They have to be a contender for like comeback of the salvaging their season, comeback of the year here.
That's a good take. Yeah, they've definitely put together a great comeback. Moving on to the stat of the week. This one is kind of interesting. I've seen this on like college basketball Reddit. Circle of suck is basically when you're able to go around in a circle and say this team beat this team, which beat this team. So I started it off with Robert Morris beating Delaware, and then Delaware beating Youngstown State because Youngstown is one of the harder ones to find a win for. Youngstown beat William and Mary, who beat myself, who beat Morgan State, who beat Towson, who beat Villanova, who beat VMI, who beat Richmond, who beat Delaware State, who beat Duquesne, who beat Robert Morris. And so technically, every team in the CAA has a connection to every other team in the CAA.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
we've harped on the parity of the league, and I know Pillow has mixed emotions about parity and depth of conference, but this is one way that you can demonstrate, that there really is some parity in the CAA.
yep. Uh, I know Pilo says we have 14 teams. That's just disappointing. Oh man, Pilo, why you gotta do us like that? Anyways, moving on to our player of the year. This is a big one. Kind of unanimous throughout the CAA voting here. Our CAA players of the year for offense is the freshman quarterback Terrell Frank from Delaware State. And then on defense, it's going to be the cornerback sophomore Hosea Robinson from Morgan State. Uh, Terrell Frank has been part of the prolific, uh, high flying Delaware State offense, throwing for 4,800 passing yards, an 80% completion rate, 48 touchdowns, and a 120.1 QBR. And then Hosea Robinson was flying over the Morgan State defense. He was voted Player of the Week a couple weeks ago, like 3 straight weeks, with 20 tackles, 2 picks, something like that. 121 tackles to close out the season, 12 sacks, and 5 turnovers. We couldn't differentiate between picks and forced fumbles. But a good season for these two players who look to have even better ones next season um, as they grow and as they develop as players. We'll see how they turn out. And now we've got the public awards, the 3 of these. The coach of the year, as voted by the public, is Delaware, which honestly wasn't surprising. There was a case to be made for Towson. There was a case to be made for YSU, but I do think Delaware was my vote as well. Upset of the year goes to the Week 12 Robert Morris versus YSU win. Kind of unanimous there as well. And then the game of the year was a triple overtime thriller between Robert Morris and Morgan State. And this was an interesting one. Robert Morris was on every single option that you could have picked. Every single game. I think half of them, yeah, one half. So 6 out of 12 games that we voted like game of the week have been Robert Morris games, which really is interesting to show how close these games can be when you have a coach like Depp. I don't know if you guys don't have thoughts on that. I can just keep chugging along here.
I mean, I'm still crying about the upset of the year, and I also lost to the coach of the year, so it's a disappointing graphic for me all the way around.
Hey, sometimes that's just how things work out.
At least
So
I
on to
don't
the
have to
power
play. At
rankings.
least I don't have to play the coach of the year again. Oh wait, actually I do.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Where is that game being held? I totally forgot to put that on the graphic.
That's at Morgan State.
At Morgan State. Perfect.
Yep. They needed the funds because of COVID to make sure they don't have to cut any of the non-revenue sports. So we're gonna host it at Morgan State.
Perfect. Sounds good for them. So on to the power rankings. We had a tie for first. Youngstown State and Delaware, both with three first place votes. Obviously, Youngstown State has a better coach Elo, so they're going to be ranked number one just off tiebreakers. And of course, each one getting 69 points. I'll wait. I'll wait for the nicest to roll on in the chat because I know. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so moving on down, we have Towson at number three with 47 points. Robert Morris making a big jump, uh, getting 46 points. They were 12th. They were last, consistently last too, at the midpoint of the season. So for them to end up fourth is a big jump. Villanova tied but had less composite votes, so they fall to fifth. Delaware State number six at 42. Morgan State 7 with 37. VMI scores 33 to get to 8. James Madison slips, only getting 30 points, falling to number 9. William and Mary goes to 22. William and Mary scores 22 points in voting, falls to 10. 11th Richmond, 12th Duquesne. Those two have been constants ever since Robert Morris kind of climbed out of that hole.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the talking point here is that it's good to see Robert Morris get up to number four. They've spent a decent portion of the season lower in these rankings, and I think really it's that three-game win streak that has everyone woken up about the prospects of Robert Morris heading into next season. Interesting to see the defending CAA champ all the way down at 8 this year. I think that shows how much the conference has improved one year over the next.
Yeah, you can't deny that. Robert Morris's turnaround, as is being talked about, has been mental, to say the least. Very, very interesting to see how things shake out for Robert Morris. So on to our most surprising Week 12 upset. Our options here are Robert Morris over Youngstown State, Columbia over Princeton, Maine over North Hampshire. Oh man, New Hampshire, and then Campbell over Mercer. And Bernie, I know you got some good thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with Columbia over Princeton here. The biggest team going down in terms of rankings was obviously the Penguins going down, but anyone, as we've been harping all episode, anyone who's been paying attention to Robert Morris knows that they had a real chance going into this one. Columbia has struggled a bit this season, so I expected the Tigers to roll.
Yeah, Columbia. I beat Columbia, so that's an interesting point there. But I did say New Hampshire falling was my upset of the week. Obviously, we know Maine's a good coach, but for New Hampshire, who's really trying to prove themselves as they haven't had the tough schedule, seeing them falter was really interesting to me. And we'll see how far that drops them in the rankings.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Bernie here. Like he said, anyone who was paying attention to Robert Morris in weeks 10 and 11 knows that they had a chance to cause some trouble for the Penguins, and you know it's not as big of a surprise as it would look on paper. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Columbia over Princeton too.
All right. So next up, we have our contender and pretender, the most famed but also the most controversial segment.
I'll go first here. My contender of the week is Campbell. My pretender of the week is YSU. I have to give the pretender to myself this week. We had a chance to end the season tied for the best record in the country. We came up one or two plays short. Campbell, on the other hand, was left for dead in the playoff discussion just a couple weeks ago, and they've at least played themselves into the bubble watch. We'll see, depending on how many auto bids get stolen, whether they are on the outside looking in. But impressive to even see them in the conversation.
Yeah, we wrote off Campbell as well. We had him as a pretender a couple weeks ago. But for them to kind of claw back into it, and at least I think they're guaranteed to make the NIT just off of auto bid and composite. I think that they have really got a name for themselves, got some momentum. obviously have had a name for themselves, but they've got some momentum. My pretender here, I had two of them. I had New Hampshire and Princeton because both these teams were looking to gain some momentum into their championship games, and now their trains have derailed, as we like to say, and we'll see how their respective conference games go this upcoming week, and whether or not they get the auto bid or whether or not they're an at large.
I'm gonna go with for my contender here. I'm gonna go with Campbell also. They got a really big comeback win over Mercer, and they really cemented themselves in the playoff picture here. For pretender, I'm gonna go Montana State. They're a team that was kind of on the bubble of the playoffs last week, and they lost a really big game. It was winning they were most likely in, and they lost it. And it's tough to see Danny making the playoffs now.
That is very true. So we move on to the big one, the conference championship game preview, the graphics that we may or may not have stole from the A Sun. Welcome to the conference championship game at Morgan State, featuring Youngstown State and Delaware. Bernie, I know you want to spearhead the thoughts here because you're obviously playing, and you're the big name in this one. You're the guy with the target on your back.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, you could say that. In the other, we these two teams have faced off, and the Blue Hens came away the victors the first time. So, we're firmly positioning ourselves as the underdogs heading into this one, at least in the Penguins locker room. I would love to see this game be an old-fashioned time of possession battle. Me and Delaware are two coaches who have a very similar philosophy. We like to control the clock, play good field position, not turn the ball over, and try and capitalize on mistakes by our opponents. I think the Blue Hens have more confidence. As you look at that season form, they're coming off back-to-back victories, whereas we're coming off an L. So I'm gonna go with Delaware pulling a 14-10 win out of their hat.
I'm gonna go against that pick. I do think the Penguins kind of have some fire in their belly. They've lost to this team before, and one of the hardest things to do is beat a team twice in a season. One thing I do want to note on in the graphic is that the average time of possession per game is very wrong. Youngstown State averages 16 minutes and 18 seconds of possession per game, which is first in the CAA. And number two is Delaware, who averages 15 minutes and 43 seconds of possession per game. Obviously, two heavyweights in the option battle, in this option battle, I should say. And we'll see how it plays out. I do have Youngstown State winning in a defensive bloodbath 10-7.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really low scoring game again. It's going to be a possession battle. We know that going into it. I think Delaware is going to take this one again, 20-14. I think it's going to make the top 10 and the first round buys in the playoffs really interesting.
Oh, we have thoughts from Matt here, who couldn't make this show. He says Bernie is going to get a revenge win here. YSU 24-21. So now all that's done. We've done our CAA topics for the rest of this season. Here's our last listener topic segment of the season. Our first question comes from Was Up, saying, "What team that made it to their conference championship game is the biggest surprise?" And for me, it's got to be Long Island. No one expected them to get in. No one thought they would get in. No, everyone thought Nathan was going to be gone after this game. But Nathan looks like he'll play more than one more game as he reaches the postseason. Confirmed whether it's playoffs or NIT, that will be decided by this game here.
Yeah, I agree. I gotta say it's Long Island. That tri-state division has really been a train wreck all year. But to see a team under 500 go 4-4 in conference and somehow win that division is absolutely remarkable. I mean, Fordham went 4-1 in the division and did not make it to the CCG.
Yeah, I got to go with Long Island also. I mean, if you have if you have a sub 500 team making a conference championship game, that has to be the most surprising.
I just joined the stream on my phone. Hold on, give me one sec. Um,
I hear you.
okay, perfect. So our next question comes from Pilo. Pilo. I'm sorry. Um, do you think too many people across all conferences start to focus on the playoffs too early? That is, instead of enjoying the week to week play. I'm gonna say right off the bat, I know he said across all conferences, but I can't speak on behalf of people in other conferences. Um, I don't. I'm not in this for the playoffs. I'm in this to submit numbers, have fun, talk with some homies, and play some fake football. So I know I enjoy that week to week gameplay.
Yeah, from the CAA perspective, I think we all enjoy each game each week. There's a lot of mini rivalries, a lot of discussion in the CAA chat among coaches who are excited to have the opportunity to play against one another, regardless of what it means for the conference championship or the playoffs. So, within the conference, that's one of the things I love about being in the CAA is I think every game kind of has something going for it that keeps it interesting all the way through week 12. Across the league, I think it's kind of natural that teams or coaches are just going to start to focus on the games that have playoff potential. It's like real life sports in that way. I think it is the case that people start to focus on the playoffs. I don't know about too early, but I don't think that's an issue. So, necessarily.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Bernie. There, I don't think it's really that big of an issue. I think it's we're emulating a real life sport, and people are taking it as serious. Some people take it as seriously as if we were actually going out there and playing a football game. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think people, can still, I know I'm really competitive. I really, take my game seriously, and sometimes I get down after a big loss. But I think some people enjoy it like that.
All right. So the next question, again from Pello. On a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy the following? Number 1, the actual playing of FFCS games. Number 2, the community in the FFCS Discord. And number 3, the feeling of winning an FFCS game.
For me, I'm gonna say the actual playing is a 9. I really enjoy the strategery back and forth. The community is also a 9. I mean, I really wouldn't stick around, or maybe I would move to FBS since I watch more FBS football if I didn't enjoy this community so much. And the feeling of winning is a 10. I absolutely love winning, absolutely hate losing. There's a noticeable difference in my activity level the week after a win and the week after a loss. So that's got to be all the way turned up to a 10.
For me, number 1 is 8. I'm right up there. I'm not as strategic as many of the series coaches. I just kind of, submit number. No RNG, of course. I just submit number that's in my head. Sometimes I'll look through like game threads, not previous game threads, but like my own game thread to make sure I'm not submitting the number too much. For number 2, it's definitely a 10. The people in this place are super nice, and I don't know if I would have stayed if the people were mean to me when I first joined. And then number 3, I haven't felt it much, but the feeling of winning is definitely a 9 for me. It's always good to get a win, whether it's on a last second field goal, whether it's a blowout. Always good to score more points than the other team.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a kind of a combination of you two here, but yeah, for playing games, I'm gonna say a 9. Really that's why everyone joins. That's why you come here. You come here to play the game, and you know that's one of the reasons you stick around. For community, I'm going 10. Without the community, I probably would have quit after I went 2-4 to finish out the season. Um, Especially in the CAA here. And then for winning a game, I'm going with a 10, like Bernie. Like I said, I'm a really competitive person, so just winning a game is great.
So
Makes
then
sense.
another question that Pello asked, and he said specifically for YSU, but I'm happy to hear thoughts from others if you guys have thoughts on this. Do you feel there's any real recognition and or praise for doing well and being ranked highly? Do you feel any pressure being ranked so far up? If you said no to the first question, is there really any way to fix that? Um, I guess it depends on what your definition of real recognition is. I mean, there are polls and rankings, and I certainly think that like other players take note of who's having a good season and whatnot. I don't feel any additional pressure from being ranked. I kind of feel a heavy amount of pressure for every game. At going back to the previous question, I hate the feeling of losing. Um, so uh, that's kind of my take on it. I don't really know if there's anything needed to fix.
I guess I'll give my perspective here. I think the recognition is just like the places in the committee and places in the coaches poll. I can't obviously I can't answer like how much pressure it has to be ranked so far up. I mean the highest I was in like the CAA power rankings was like fifth, and then I collapsed right after that, and that was very poor on my part. Um, and then any way to fix recognition, obviously I have no opinion there. I've never been recognized. I just kind of have fun, I chill, play as James Madison, and submit number.
Yeah, I can't speak personally for being ranked highly, but I definitely feel like there is some, I guess, like Bernie said, it depends on what you consider real recognition, but like people know Bethune Cookman is number one. They know that Youngstown State is one of the best teams in the league. As far as pressure being ranked, I think I can let my record when I'm ranked speak for that. Feel pressure when I'm up there.
Chase from UNI asked, how many playoff teams will the CAA get? Personally, I think this one is pretty cut and dry. I think it's a maximum of two and a minimum of two. Hard to see a whole lot changing for a third team to get in or for one of the teams in the conference championship game to fall out. I suppose if Delaware got blasted by 100 points, you could maybe make an argument that they were going to fall out, but that just doesn't seem possible.
Yep, same. It's definitely two. Um, it should be two, and hopefully will be two. Delaware and YSU deserve to be there, and there is no one that can tell me otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's definitely two. The only way I see Delaware falling out is, like Bernie said, if they get really just blasted in the conference championship game, maybe they could fall to like 21, 22, and then that would kind of knock them out, based on other conferences' auto bids. But I don't see either of them falling. I don't see either of them falling out of the playoffs, and I don't see anyone else getting in.
And you and I also asked, what would a successful postseason be for the conference for the CAA? I'll let someone else take that one first.
Well, I'm not involved. I do run like an off postseason tourney, but I think the goal, as much as I wouldn't like it, I would love to see Edge and Towson and the NIT. I do think they are two very good coaches. Personally, I have them in my tournament, so if they could just not do that, that would be cool. Um, but in terms of postseason like playoffs, I think both teams could make a run. I mean, you've seen YSU get hot, winning a lot in a row, and you've seen Delaware also win a lot in a row. So hey, if you get hot at the right time, this could be a great postseason.
As far as NIT, I think I might be really the only team in the CAA that has a shot at it, and it's even that's not that great. I'm in 43rd in comp right now. I think it would take a lot of craziness going on, in conference championship games for me to get up there. But I'm going to be bold here. I'm going to say I want to see a national championship from the Penguins. Put that
Oh,
pressure on me.
yeah, me too. Me too. I would love to see that. I'm not going to even suggest that that's a possibility. I mean, first of all, I think there are more talented coaches out there, but then you also have to have an element of luck, that you don't have a bad break go against you or something to make it that far. For me, as far as what I'd like to see, for the conference, if we could get two coaches into the round of 16 and at least one into the quarterfinals, I would feel like that was a good showing. I think we only had one team in the playoffs last year, that being VMI. And I don't remember if they lost in the play-in round or the round of 16, but I think they did not make the quarterfinals. So if we could get a quarterfinalist and get two into the round of 16, that would be a good step forward. And then next, Einstein submitted a question. Which of the hosts is rooting against Cal Poly the most this week?
No, it can't be me. Cannot be me. We are close. I guess not like close, but I couldn't root against him. He's a great man.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I don't think it can be me. Me and Fruity back in the first 2 weeks of D2. I played him. I really want to see him. I really like him. I really want to see him succeed. If he could go out and make it, far in the playoffs, I think that'd be even better for me. Make my schedule look even better.
Yeah, for me, this is a tough one. Einstein is mentioning it's about I think it's about the history of Cal Poly, and really how they are one of the most hated schools historically in come playoff time, especially. But it is tough for us in the CAA, knowing who's coaching them right now. We are all big fans of Fruity. We were all sad when Fruity decided to leave Duquesne at the end of last season. Maybe Fruity will be interested in coming back. As we mentioned, we might have one opening, so that would be cool to see if we could bring back a CAA alum. But I guess I had probably have to be the coach who's rooting against them the most, from the perspective that I expect Cal Poly is going to be right there, looking at a high playoff seeding, and a loss from Cal Poly could potentially help the Penguins if we can handle our business against Delaware. So, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Cal Poly lost and potentially allowed the Penguins to move up a spot.
All right. So the last one here, we can preview the postseason tournaments for a little bit. I can start off. I don't know many of them. I just know my own. And right now, the tentative schedule in my directional dispute is going to be our East. We have Josh, who's the coach of Brown, and Edge, who's the coach of Villanova, facing off in that all Pennsylvania battle. Obviously, if one of those coaches makes the playoffs, or sorry, makes the NIT, we have a sub in because Dice, who's the coach of San Diego, and also another backup sub in Depp at Robert Morris. He's also listed as an alt. In the West, we have Austin P facing off against Mr. D from Towson. Our sub was Montana, but they're going to make a postseason tournament. So right now, I'm just banking on the fact that Mr. D doesn't make a postseason tournament. In the South, we have Captain CC from Charleston Southern facing off against Slow from Florida A&M. Alts there, we have Cooper from Valpo and Penguino, who's been kind of thrown around the FCS as a sub. He's been a long-term sub at a couple coaches. And then in the Midwest, we have M. Grovier from Gardner Webb facing off against me from James Madison. Obviously, neither of us are going to make the NIT, but to make Danny happy, I do have a couple alts. I have Rift from Sacramento State, and I have Webb the Great from Harvard. And also, all the alts will get an option to join a different tournament uh, if they are not needed in mine. So we'll see how things turn out. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to host this. By the way, it came to me late night idea. I shot Danny a message, and then like the next day he was talking about postseason tournaments, and I posted my form and got a lot of interest. I could have done a 16 team bracket, but unfortunately that was not allowed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of insight on most of the tournaments. I think Matt's hosting one too, isn't he?
I
Um,
believe he is.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah, I
too
think it's
sure.
like offense.
Okay, yeah. I'm not too sure who's going into that, but Adore with your tournament, specifically my game against Josh, I'm really looking forward to that. We're two teams who are sitting like right next to each other in comp. We seem like really similar teams this season. I'm really looking forward to what should be a good game there. And I'm just hoping I can make a good run in that.
I unmuted Pello in case he wants to weigh in here.
Come on, Pello. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, nice. So I'm just supposed to talk about my tournament, which some say is going to be the best tournament of all time.
Whoa.
But I said some, not many, but some. Yeah, it's just because you know how I am. Whenever a new team would pop up, like Sacramento State, I'd say, "Oh, they're not even real state," and then I was like, "Oh, that's an idea right there." Is just have all those not actually real states invited and see how it goes, and the winner can just replace one of the current states. So we got one Colonial Athletic team. We got that Morgan State, and then the rest are from Big Sky, Dick, and then the Southland. But I'm excited for it. Might lose one team to the playoffs, which would be unfortunate.
If you had to handicap the field right now, who would you say is the favorite and who's a dark horse?
Favorite? I would want to say Sam Houston, but they've been on kind of a slide lately. So I'll say Jackson State. They're the only team who beat Brady this regular season. I think they're a pretty good coach. And then dark horse, I got my boy Portland State. Never talks, but I think he's a decent coach. So I think he could pull off a surprise or two.
Well, clearly those in the chat disagree with you, but we appreciate your takes on that. Have you decided which state? Have you decided which state would be replaced?
Well, see, based on some discussions, we were just gonna merge the two Dakotas into just Dakota, like that's the state name.
Mm-hmm.
So then instead of North and South Dakota, it's just Dakota, and then just slot in, whoever wins.
I like it. I like it. All right. Well, I don't think we had anything else on the agenda. That's a pretty
No.
good recap.
Yeah. I'll do the outro real quick. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's CAA Today. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next season for season 5 CAA Today. I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything about the season and how much fun they've had doing this. I know I've had a lot of fun doing this. Um, it's been interesting, that's for sure. And we will catch you guys on the flip side. Make sure to look out for our CAA Today article that we will be writing about season 4 and how things changed in the CAA and how the dynamic was just flipped around to say the least. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, making this a reality. It's been an amazing ride, and we'll see you guys next season.